I'm Gemma Allen, coming to you from our studio here at the New York Stock Exchange. This is theCUBE and NYSE Wired Mixture of Experts series, and today I am talking to Henri Delahaye, CEO and co-founder of Raise Summit, a summit that happens in Paris in July and certainly took the global world of AI and tech by storm last year. Welcome, Henri.
Hi Gemma, good to be on the show and thanks for having me.
So I was in Paris last year. It was a phenomenal couple of days, huge attendance, some incredible speakers, and I think a lot of folks really were unanimous in their view that the energy was pretty palpable, right? Tell me a little bit about the inception of Raise, the journey you've been on as a community builder and event leader. How did this all start?
Yes, sure. So I would say it's a pretty fun adventure and a wild ride. I was not really supposed to go into the event space. Uh, Basically, Adrian, which is one of my co-founder, we were friends in high school, and um, for some reasons we reconnected 3 years ago, 6 months after the launch of ChatGPT, and I was straight out of college. Adrian used to work in finance in London, and then at a software company, and we say, okay, how can we basically um, be involved in the AI space without obviously the two of us being technical co-founders? Um, and we deep dive into the space, and we realize that the event space, despite COVID and despite digital being everywhere, and all of us spending all our days on Zoom, um, the event space has a lot of momentum, right? Because we all closed deal in persons. And then we met Michael and Charlie, who are the founders of our sister company, Paris Blockchain Week.
Mm.
And we decided to work together to go extremely fast. I think the event space is like every industry. You need to be obsessed by execution, growth, and quality. Um, and yeah, that's the way we basically launched Race. And we launched in November 2023, so a bit more than 2 years ago. And since then, the growth has been crazy. And thanks for the feedbacks and thanks for coming last year. It really means a lot.
Well, I think one thing you have certainly to your advantage is the location. It's at Carrousel du Louvre, which is such an iconic place, one of the most historical places on earth, really. Legacy meets future, right? Talk to me a little bit about last year in terms of, how things went down and how that's shaping what you're planning for 2026.
Exactly. I think one of the core thesis of Race was how can we differentiate ourselves from all the large trade shows that exist? We are a newcomer in the space, and how can we make Raise a standout? Um, and the first thing was building a global AI platform. So it's not a Franco-French or Franco-European event. To do so, I think Paris is an amazing city. Um, we have probably the most iconic venues on earth, and being in the city center of a city for a large tech event is a huge leverage. So that's why we opted for the Louvre, Carrousel du Louvre to be precise. And it's really, I think, a great way to bring the audience together in a very premium and refined setup.
And one thing about the Louvre is it has capacity constraints, right? But in some respects, that's a positive for a conference like this because it keeps it somewhat intimate in terms of who attends. From a number perspective, how many people did you have in 2025 and what's the plan for 2026?
Sure. I think it's funny because, Gemma, when we met last year, I'm sure you have attended much more events than I do.
Mm.
Um, but as I said, every vertical is nowadays being challenged. And I think to be even more premium, and again, I think French are kind of lagging a bit in tech, like Europeans with the US, but where we're pretty good is on luxury and premium experiences. And at Raise, we try to duplicate that European fiber on a tech show, right? Um, and obviously, we have this capacity selling, but it's a strength, right?
Mm.
Raise is the antithesis of many large trade show in the tech space. And all these players are fighting for the highest number of attendees that comes with a lot of dilution. We take a different path. being obsessed with quality, getting the crème de la crème, and bringing buyers for our partners that are investing and spending a lot of time with us to make this event race.
So tell me about the content tracks for 2026. The world of AI, it's moving so quickly. The big buzzword right now is agentic. We have seen themes from July of 2025 evolve rapidly year on year. What sort of themes can we expect? What sort of conversations should we look forward to?
So, Gemma, I think you know it better than I do because you have fantastic entrepreneurs and founders on a daily basis. It's extremely rare, extremely hard to predict what will be the final agenda for Race 2026. In one of the paper I wrote on X and LinkedIn before the vacations was my strong feeling is that the last year feels like it was 5 years. The pace is crazy. So much fundings, so much innovation, so much iterations. It's kind of extremely hard to keep up with with what is going on. I think one thematic that is going to be central, especially as Raise is a global AI platform bridging the US, Europe, and the Middle East, and also our friends from Asia, is sovereign AI. Even if we take a step back from all the political conversation at the moment, what I realize is many players in the infrastructure, data center, but also in terms of data and security, sovereign AI is all over the conversations, and it will be extremely very central at Race. And I think having this agnostic positioning, being in EMEA, being in Paris, is a very also differentiator for us. So I would say one for sovereign AI.
Well, one thing I personally love is that this conference happens in Europe. We've seen a lot of very successful conferences obviously happen in Europe over the years, but it's great to see AI emerging through the mechanism of Raise and the conversation happening, on the ground in somewhere as iconic too as the Louvre. We hear a lot about the investment landscape and Europe versus the US versus the Middle East from an AI perspective. Talk to me as a Frenchman, I guess, about what it means for you and for Adrian to really bring this conversation and centralize so many incredible leaders, in France.
Yes, 100%. And I think that's also linked to your previous question. I would say the second thematic that will be very big at Raise is going from POCs to systems and from real AI deployment at scale in enterprise. That's also one of the reasons why at Raise this year we are adding one layer, which is a CIO summit, so Chief Information Gathering, a safe space for them where they can discuss what is working, what is not working, and then they can have one-on-one matchmaking with top AI CEOs. So sovereign AI and enterprise deployment. And to follow up on your question is, I think it's a very big asset, right? Obviously, I wish that the European markets will be as iterative and growing at the same pace as in the US, but I can feel from again all the conversation that there is a real momentum and not an anger, but like a strong determination to be much more rational and up to date on the AI shift and the new paradigm that brings AI.
Henri, I'm very excited at the idea of being in Paris in July, especially as we have non-stop freezing snow here in New York. Tell me, who is lined up to attend? Is there anything you can share in way of some of the big names and sponsors we can expect to see?
Yes, sure. And first of all, Gemma, I really want to thank the whole team behind NYC Wire and to support us since day one. Also bring a different audience that is obviously more US based, but thanks a lot for your support and partnership. It's very great to be working on your side. And in terms of the lineup is extremely exciting. We really try to again keep that uncompromising quality. So in terms of very big public listed companies, we have the CEOs of Robinhood, the CEO of NetApp. In terms of like more public figure, we have Mark Cuban. Big diversity in terms of AI scale-ups, AI labs, public listed companies, and trying to bring everyone in the same room. And we will also have like more than 120 speakers on the CIO summits that I mentioned. So mostly CIOs and CTOs of Fortune 1000 companies. They will be evenly represented.
And Henri, for anyone watching or listening who might be interested in joining or attending or sponsoring, close us out with how they can get in touch or how they might become part of this very exciting event in July in Paris.
Sure. So basically, I don't want to be overselling. We are already 95% sold out. The demand is crazy. So you can obviously reach out to me on LinkedIn. Obviously, we have an amazing sales team led by Jim that joined us 6 months ago. My other co-founders, Adrian and Michael, and the rest of the team. We are basically 40 of us working full-time to produce race. In Paris, we will soon have new crispy announcements to do. And whether you are an hyperscaler, an emerging neo lab, neo clouds, an AI lab, or a large enterprise willing to go big at a race, welcome and excited to be working together.
Well, what a wonderful problem to have, to be oversubscribed in January for a conference in July. I know a lot of events players would love to share that problem. So, Henri, really excited to see you again this summer. Thanks so much for coming on Mixture of Experts.
And my pleasure. And thanks, Gemma. Thanks again for the interview, and can't wait to welcome the team and the New York Stock Exchange crew at Race. Talk to you soon.
I'm Gemma Allen, coming to you from the CUBE studio here at the New York Stock Exchange. This is our Mixture of Experts series, a CUBE program with NYSE Wired. Thanks so much for watching.